This is proof that you don't need to spend $100,000 on an off-roader to have fun.
I've seen a lot of people complaining about off-road and overland channels because they're driving around in really ridiculously overbuilt vehicles or pull expensive trailers, and all of that is unrelatable. When I watch YouTube, I watch it to dream, either for inspiration for beautiful places that I'd like to go, like this, or for things that I don't have or I can't have, because if it was relatable, I'd just go out and do it myself. But I do think that by doing what I've done, I've created a misconception that you need a really expensive setup, that you need a fully built out vehicle to go out overlanding, and that is not true. So I bought this. This is a 2007 Land Rover LR3 I picked up for about $1,100. There are two reasons I went for an LR3. One of them, and probably the most important one, is because I've wanted one of these for years. I love the way they look. I think they're such timeless vehicles. It's crazy that this thing's almost 20 years old, but I think it still kind of looks good, like relevant modern vehicle. The other reason is because I've been told that these are surprisingly capable even as a stock vehicle. So today we're going to test that out by going up top of the world in Moab, which if I look at the Onyx off-road trail report and trail description, it is listed as a moderate trail with a difficulty rating of 6 out of 10. And if I scroll down to the bottom, that rating is based on uneven, rutted dirt trail with loose rocks, a bunch of other stuff, and obstacles up to 2 feet, including ledges and short, steep grades. If I scroll back up to the pictures, I can see a few of those steep ledges and the view at the top, which is what it's really worth going up for. So let's get airing down and see how it does. And this Land Rover is completely stock. It sits basically as I bought it, minus a few fixes, and still has 4 street tires on it, one of which is pretty bald and has a plug in it, which is a little bit of a concern. But like I say, gotta try it out and see what it can do stock.
You go, Finn.
I'm driving, yeah.
Of course, for an overland build, I don't just care about how it does off-road. If that was all I cared about, I'd be getting like a Jeep Cherokee, an XJ or a ZJ, and I'd be bouncing off the rev limiter, bouncing over rocks. I also care about how it does on the road, because I do a lot of on-road travel to get across the country, to get to different places, and I care how it does on rough, washboardy roads like the one that I'm on now. And I think that's where the Land Rover is really going to shine. The all-around independent suspension handles really nicely. On the highway, you're going to track in a straight line, it's going to be smooth, it's going to be comfortable, and no fuss, even in windy conditions. On slightly rougher washboard roads like the one I'm on now, it is really comfortable. I am shocked at how nicely it rides, and I'm sitting on street tires at 25 PSI. I can't wait to get this on something that's a little bit larger, that I can air down a little bit more. I think it'll be even better. The 4.4 litre V8 and 6-speed transmission pair nicely to give you plenty of power, both at highway speeds and on the trail. Inside, it's plush and comfortable for long trips. You know, these leather seats are very nice. Got even like adjustable armrests, they're heated seats, I've got climate control, you know, all of the modern conveniences that you really wouldn't expect in a vehicle that's designed in 2005. And what really surprises me is I don't think that the interior is that dated. It has that kind of utilitarian look that a lot of vehicles today still have. You know, maybe it's a few years out of date, but it's not bad. The worst thing is really this little phone dial-like thing here, and that's what really gives it away. Oh, and the CD player. That's what really gives it away, that it is an older vehicle. The only other thing that's missing is some kind of screen. You know, I don't have CarPlay in here. Obviously, this was a vehicle that's designed in 2005, so CarPlay just wasn't a thing back then. But I do have this nice space here that I think I could mount one of those aftermarket CarPlay screens, and that way I can have Onyx Off-Road up, my navigation app, and I can see where I need to go on this trail. Right now, I don't have anything, otherwise, well, I guess I could just hold my phone the entire time when I need to see which way to go. Thankfully, I've got Ed in front of me, so I'm just following him in his Jeep. Just looking at it from the outside, it's obvious that this is built around off-road travel. You know, got those wheels close to the front and the rear of the vehicle, giving you a good approach and departure angle. This actually has an approach angle of 37 degrees, which is about 4 degrees better than the approach angle on a TRD Pro 4Runner. For dropping off ledges, the departure angle is 30 degrees, which once again is 4 degrees better than that TRD Pro.
Of course, Land Rover has a long history of building off-road and overland vehicles. It started in 1947 as the British answer to Jeep. It was a rugged and capable bare-bones off-roader, and it became as much of an icon around the world as Jeep is in the US. From there, many subsequent models were developed that are used in both the military and for long-distance overland travel. Perhaps the most famous use is in the Camel Trophy events known as the Olympics of 4x4. In the competition, participants would take their Land Rovers across some of the most inhospitable terrain in the world, covering thousands of miles in places like the Amazon, the Congo, Mongolia, and Siberia. Along the way, they'd face deep water crossings and mud bogs and have to build bridges across washed-out terrain. Eventually, Land Rover started to turn to luxury vehicles and the Camel Trophy petered away. You can still see some of its heritage in the LR3, but while the trail I was doing wasn't easy, I don't ever see it completing something like a Camel Trophy run.
But it's what's underneath that sets this apart from the 4Runner for 2 reasons. The first is that it was incredibly far ahead of its time, and it's basically all controlled by computers. I've got a little dial here, so I can set this to rock mode for what I'm on now. A little switch that I can flip here that raises the suspension by a couple of inches, and basically does what it needs to do to get over the terrain. But that leads me on to the second reason that this is nothing like a 4Runner, and that's because this is known for being incredibly unreliable. While the air suspension is really cool, it is known as a point of failure. Now, I've been on a bunch of Land Rover and LR3 groups, and all of them say it's not as bad as people make it out to be. But then they follow that up, the very next sentence, saying to buy a diagnostic tool. So I got one. It seems that the compressor going bad or the airbags going bad is a problem that they all face at some point in their life. And if you take it to a Land Rover dealer, it is incredibly expensive to get it fixed. And I think that's where a lot of the reputation lies and why you can pick these up for so cheap. However, I'm also told that if you know what you're doing, you can fix and replace them for a lot less. Unfortunately, I don't know what I'm doing. But it is a very clever system. For most off-road vehicles, people look for solid axle, either front and rear if they want to get really technical, or at least in the rear. But on Land Rover, they decided to go with independent suspension all around and made up for what would normally be a lack of articulation with technology. So when I lift a wheel on this, the system detects that that wheel is lifted and it uses the air suspension to push that wheel further down and hopefully get it back in contact with the ground. Unfortunately, in reality, it works okay, but you still end up going up on 3 wheels quite a lot, and that's when the traction control kicks in, and it works its best to get you up over that obstacle. So on that obstacle, the suspension system detected that I was kind of getting stuck and hung up on something. So it lifted me up into what's called the super extended mode to give me even more ground clearance. I've noticed that when you're in rock mode on this, it automatically turns on downhill assist. And for downhill assist, you'd think in like long stretches of downhill descent, but it's actually really useful for getting over rocks where you need to have good throttle control and brake control, because in a normal vehicle, you have to put your foot on the gas to get up and then quickly switch to the brake so you don't launch yourself. Whereas on this, you put your foot on the gas to get up, and then when you take your foot off the gas, the vehicle automatically slows you down again. It's pretty nice.
I also noticed that taking obstacles slowly seemed to be the best way to do them. The Land Rover computer system isn't fast, but it figures it all out eventually. It was obviously working the entire time to keep the vehicle level using the air suspension system while braking the tires without traction, steadily getting me through all of the obstacles.
I've been shocked at how well this is doing. It's taken on everything that I've thrown at it so far. It's had a couple of really light scrapes in a couple of places. Other than that, I don't know, it's crawling right over everything. However, we have also been doing the easier part of the trail, and we've just reached the first, I'd say, major-ish obstacle, and then the last quarter mile or so, the last quarter mile, half mile is where it gets hard. And I really hope I make it to the top, not just because there's a great view up there, but because I already got the badge to stick on this. And if I don't make it, I don't know what I'll do with this badge. So it's got to earn it.
Other than that, you're coming up at a good angle.
Yeah, I saw those rocks stacked there.
Yeah. No, that all clears.
Yeah.
Except for that part. That's lovely.
Of course, if things get too difficult, I did buy myself some budget recovery equipment, including some traction boards that I got on Temu. So I'm good. So this is the ledge I was worried about getting up in the Land Rover. And looking at it now, this is way worse than the last time I came up here. I came up here with my 4Runner and made it up this ledge. And I don't know, I think that's gonna be a little bit too much of a challenge for the Land Rover, but there's a bypass, so that's good. But Ed's gonna come up here in his Jeep and show us how this one's done.
Easy enough to try the road.
Watching Ed take on the obstacle solidified my choice in taking the bypass, but I still had another ledge to take on.
Alright, so this is the hardest obstacle that I'm gonna face on this trail. And I think I should be able to do it. I'm gonna give it a go.
You've got room to go back over to the right if you want. You're good right there. Now hard over here. Straighten out here, go first. Give that a bump. You're gonna get this tire up. Now bump it. Yep. Come on. I won't let you run me over.
We had just a few more ledges to take on before getting to the top, but I felt like they were getting harder and harder.
Tire action. The Range Rover commercial. Yeah. Bumper looks like it's up here.
I chose Top of the World because I figured it would be a decent challenge for the Land Rover, but not too much that I'd break it or get stuck or flip over. But the main reason that I chose to do Top of the World is for the view at the top. Check this out. So we made it to the top of the world. It was a little sketchier coming up the last bit, a little bit than I thought it was going to be, but we did it. We got the traditional pictures at the top. Now it's time to put my badge on, because it's badge of honor now. But I figured, I mean, with all the effort it took to get up here, this Land Rover, it's not a Jeep. This Land Rover has earned it. So I've got to put a little badge of honor on there. What do you think? Right there. Top of the world. We did it. 2025. And we just made it back to camp after a successful climb up to top of the world. But I do have to be completely honest with you. There were a couple of more significant scrapes. One of them was down here. I hit the front on a ledge going up right towards the end. And then the other one was maybe even the same ledge coming back down again. I hit the back pretty hard down here and it popped this out, and I don't know, may have damaged this a little bit too. But other than that, you couldn't tell just glancing at it. This has been fixed just by popping it back in, and the front's been fixed with some zip ties. The only other thing that really needs fixing is the hood. We didn't break it, but it's got all this faded paint on it, which I think looks really ugly. And I want to put stickers all over it. So if you want to send me a sticker, I would really appreciate that. I will put details in a pinned comment or just my address somewhere on the screen maybe. And I want to cover this whole thing in your stickers. Later this year, I'll be taking this out on a long distance overland trip, and I need to get it ready. As part of that, I've set myself a hard budget of $10,000, and hopefully I will be spending a lot less than that. The vehicle itself was about $1,100. I spent another $900 on getting parts, fixing it up, and then like taxes, inspections, all that fun stuff that you got to pay to the government, which should leave me $8,000 to spend. Now, realistically, I could just get some stock size all-terrain tires to replace these bald things, something that's going to stand up to punctures and rocks a little bit better, something that's going to give a little bit more grip. But I could also get some oversized tires pretty easily too, because these are super simple to lift. You can actually go out and just buy the $75 spacers that go on the ride height sensors, and it lifts the whole vehicle. But my diagnostic tool that I bought and blew $500 of the budget on can reprogram the computer in here and will lift it. The cavernous space that you have in the back of here makes this a great budget overlander, because you can actually just fold the back seats flat and you have enough room to set up a mattress and comfortably sleep in here. However, I'm not going to be doing that because I plan on taking my son out with me on trips. So we're going to be adding a rooftop tent to this from Top Oak. We'll be using this space for storage instead, so I'll be getting probably some plastic totes from Walmart for my camping gear and recovery equipment, and I'll be adding one thing that I don't want to say I can't go without, I don't want to go without, and that's a fridge from Bouge RV, a little battery that they have. Super cheap, it's like the same price as a high-end cooler, and it's great when you're out for long trips. But what I want to know is, what do you want to see from this build? Let me know in the comments. Do you want me to keep it as budget as possible, spend as little? Or do you want me to go all out and get a whole bunch of lights, because everyone loves lights? Whatever it is, let me know, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to see the build process and us hopefully take it out on a trip without breaking down. Thanks for watching.